We're so glad you could join us for the news. We take a look at stories making headlines. Former Finance Minister Katela Kalumba says Zambia's 2019 national budget is sufficient to secure a financial bailout from the International Monetary Fund (IMF). And President Edgar Lungu has been called upon to exercise his utmost discretion in appointing a suitably qualified Auditor General with agency. And now the news in detail. Former Finance Minister Katela Kalumba says Zambia's 2019 national budget has laid a foundation sufficient to secure a financial bailout from the International Monetary Fund (IMF). Dr. Kalumba says the country's national budget could not have come with a quiet appreciation and understanding from either the IMF or the World Bank if it was not sufficient. He thinks that either the IMF or the World Bank could have criticized the budget by now if the Zambian government was not doing the right thing in restoring fiscal stability and growing the economy. In an interview with QTV News by telephone, Dr. Kalumba, who was a cabinet minister in the Frederick Chiluba MMD-led government, states that Zambia's 2019 budget is therefore a strong financial plan. Dr. Kalumba says he has particularly taken note that external financing for this budget is a smaller percentage compared to past budget, an indication, he says, shows that Zambia can do it within its own means. He states that the country, however, needs to be fiscally prudent by reducing excess government expenditure as well as rethink the decentralization policy. Dr. Kalumba is, on the other hand, confident that the targets made in 2019 national budget of growing the Zambian economy by 4%, sustaining inflation and deficits in single digits can be attained. He says this is for as long as government maintains both fiscal and political stability. And Dr. Kalumba has described as a very shrewd move this abolishing and replacing of the value-added tax VAT with a sales tax as announced in the 2019 national budget.
Yeah, budget would not have come up without a quiet appreciation, understanding from the IMF or the World Bank that we are doing the right thing. If we didn't do so, you could have already heard a statement from the World Bank criticizing the budget. But they haven't, because it's a very strong Zambian-driven budget. The component of external financing is a very small percentage compared to past budgets, showing that we can do it within our own means, but we need to be fiscally prudent, reduce excessive government expenditure, including what I said, rethink our policy of decentralization in a way that devolves power to the people, but for them to raise local revenue and finance basic services. Yeah.
Christian Democratic Party President Danny Pule says that the 2019 national budget announced by Finance Minister Margaret Monakatwe last week on Friday was well thought out. Dr. Pule says this is because it is meant to stabilize and grow the Zambian economy. In an interview with QTV News, Dr. Pule says that he has taken note that the Minister of Finance has put in place measures in line with this month's presidential speech to Parliament. Dr. Pule believes that the announced measures in 2019 national budget will thus not only be stimulus to the growth of the Zambian economy, but also ensure that the people are protected. He notes that, for example, the tax introduced on export of manganese will result in job creation in the country. Dr. Pule states that the incentives introduced in the budget for the production of finished copper products are also important in the promotion on value addition to the country's raw materials. He thinks that the 2019 national budget is both powerful and pro-poor. Republican President Edgar Lungu has been called upon to exercise his discretion in appointing a suitably qualified person to occupy the vacance of the office in the office of the Auditor General with utmost agency. The Young African Leaders Initiative YALI wants President Edgar Lungu to ensure that whoever is appointed as Auditor General, such an appointment is ratified in the current sitting of Parliament. YALI Governance Advisor Isaac Mwanza says this is in order that by the time government begins to implement the 2019 national budget, Zambia will have had a substantive Auditor General. Mr. Mwanza states that the country needs an Auditor General to hold the government accountable and perfect the system of governance. He says it is therefore incumbent upon President Edgar Lungu to guarantee that as the country enters the 2019 financial year, the office of the Auditor General will have a substantive office bearer.
I think that the President needs to exercise his discretion to appoint the Auditor General with the utmost agency. It's very important that we have the Auditor General, the substantive Auditor General in office, and not the one on an acting basis. From the time the other one resigned and went away, we have seen that that office has remained vacant, and there is someone who's just there on an acting basis. It's a very, very important office in the Republic of Zambia. Audit is a very, very important office because it's able to bring out certain issues that needs to be clarified and to ensure that the government is accountable, that we're able to improve our accounting system. It is not about witch hunting anybody, but it's about perfecting the system of governance. That is how key that office is. And so we would like to call upon His Excellency, the President of the Republic of Zambia, Mr. Lungu, to ensure that he can appoint the Auditor General as soon as possible so that before the end of this parliamentary session, we should have the Auditor General ratified by this Parliament and be able to have a new Auditor General as we enter 2019.
Meanwhile, Mr. Mwanza says his organization finds it unfortunate that budgetary allocations to the education sector in the country have continued to reduce. Mr. Mwanza says Yali has taken note that allocations in the 2019 national budget and that of the previous budgets have been below 20%. He says his organization is also concerned that the Youth Empowerment Fund has received a small allocation in the 2019 national budget. Mr. Mwanza states that Yali, however, welcomes the 2.8 billion kwacha that has gone to public order and safety. He says his organization expects government to, on the other hand, ensure that human rights are respected as police officers enforces the Public Order Act.
But we must be able to balance up the implementation of the Public Order Act with the human rights of our people. We do not want to see government buying tankers and tankers to try and patrol the rallies where they prevent political parties to hold rallies. Then you bring in tankers and jets and everything towards a Public Order Act. I think that it will be a misplaced priority if that is what she's funding it for. But we realize every other country requires public order, and it is good to have that kind of funding towards a Public Order Act. But let us ensure that we respect human rights, and the police, as they implement the Public Order Act, we need our parliament to demand that there must be respect for human rights. The right to expression, the right to association, those will be very, very key.
And also, there are some legislation that
The Patriotic Front government has been advised against reducing itself into a regime that deports foreign nationals who share divergent views. The Zambia National Students Union, ZANASU, is advising government to realize that deporting foreign nationals who share divergent views is an infringement on freedoms of expression and association. ZANASU President Misheka Konde says his union thinks that government should, in this case, apologize for denying entry into Zambia and deporting Kenya's renowned academician Patrice Lumumba. In an interview with QTV News, Mr. Kakombe states that his union demands that an unreserved apology be made to students from Eden University and the entire student fraternity. Mr. Kakonde states that by deporting Professor Lumumba, who was scheduled to give a public talk on matters affecting Zambia on Saturday, government has caused so much pain among students. He says that the decision by government has robbed the Eden University in the country of an initiative to mobilize resources. Mr. Kakonde says there is in fact a potential for a rift to rise between government and students if the apology his union has demanded for is not rendered. He says that the ZANASU therefore calls for greater interface between government and institutions of higher learning in general to avoid a repeat of a similar deportation in future. Ministry of Housing and Infrastructure Development Permanent Secretary Charles Mishota has called for private sector involvement in growing the housing sector and increasing property development. Engineer Mshota notes that the 2019 national budget has not allocated much resources towards property development and the housing sector, and this then presents an opportunity for the private sector to come on board and complement government efforts. Engineer Mshota states that the job of the private sector is to come in the government cannot reach, and therefore now is the time for the private sector to contribute more resources and invest in property development. He states that this will result in the provision of affordable houses to the Zambians and also lead to job creation. A total of 2.2 billion kwacha has been allocated towards housing and community amenities in the 2019 national budget.
Take advantage of this and bring in more resources, invest in the housing development so that they can bridge that gap which has been left by the Zambian government, because I think it's a great opportunity for all those who are in property development and also who are in manufacturing and selling of the construction materials.
We take you to Southern Province, where police has arrested 2 more people in unlawful drilling and using military attire and machinery in Livingston. Provincial Police Commissioner Boni Kapeso says those arrested are a Chinese national and a Zambian who is also the director for the alleged safety security company. Mr. Kapeso says the 2 are believed to be part of or behind the unlawful drilling, a case that the police is pursuing in which 8 shotguns and a pistol were recovered. He says with the arrest of the 2, the number of those who are in detention for unlawful drilling in Livingston has now risen to 11, 2 of which are Chinese nationals and 9 are Zambians. Mr. Kapeso states that police has since constituted a combined team of District Joint Operations Committee, DJOC, to probe this matter. Water Development, Sanitation and Environmental Protection Minister Dennis Wanchinga says President Edgar Lungu is building a strong legacy towards improving water and sanitation in the country. Dr. Wanchinga says that this can be seen through the national budget allocation, which has risen from 986 million kwacha in 2018 to 1.9 billion kwacha in 2019 on water and sanitation, representing an increase of 93%, amounting to 994 million kwacha increase. He notes that the progress is being achieved in Zambia following President Edgar Lungu's decision to create a ministry specifically for water and sanitation. Dr. Wanchinga says that donor support from development partners has also continued to rise in support of water, sanitation and environmental protection. He says this is from partners such as Danida, GIZ, EIB, the World Bank, UNICEF, GAF, AFDB, the UNEP, JICA, the KFW, and the U.S. government through the Millennium Challenge account. Dr. Wanchinga was speaking in an interview after attending the Mahatma Gandhi International Sanitation Convention in New Delhi, India.
The Indian government has achieved tremendously in the area of sanitation. Just 4 years ago, in 2014, Indian access to sanitation was at 39%. 4 years later, they are at 88%. So within a period of 4 years, they have been able to improve sanitation, provide good sanitation facilities to the Indian people by 88%, to 88% level, which is a commendable effort. And that's why I think they are showcasing this case, and that's why we are here to learn the steps that they have taken to be able to achieve, make so much progress in the area of sanitation.
Meanwhile, Zambia's High Commissioner to India, Judith Kabijimpanga, says that Zambia should take advantage of drawing lessons from India's aggressive approach, especially that it is willing to share a template for other countries to draw lessons from them in the area of water and sanitation.
India is a good country for Zambia to partner with in terms of water, sanitation and environmental protection. So we're happy that you are here, and we hope to see further partnering with the Indian government in terms of issues to do with your portfolio, and we are very happy that we have this particular ministry which is dealing with such issues, because in India they are top of the range.
The United Nations Independent Party UNIP Secretary General Alfred Banda says Zambia needs to come up with more mixed policies and move away from the current neoliberal policies if the country is to achieve development. Neoliberalism is a policy model of economies that transfers control of economic factors to the private sector from the public sector. If it also seeks to abolish mixed exchange rates, back deregulation, permit private property and privatized businesses run by the state. Reverend Banda states that therefore that the implementation of neoliberal policies in Zambia has led to a general decline of social conditions in the country. Reverend Banda further states that neoliberal policies are not good policies, as they do not encourage growth nor alleviate poverty. He has since charged that Zambia is in the mess today because of following the neoliberal policies, thus the need for the country to grow up with and follow mixed policies.
We believe in a mixed economy. This is what we intended to do after the 1991 elections. Had the people of Zambia given UNIP the mandate. We believe in a mixed economy. The way we have gone as a country, we have gone the wrong way. These neoliberal policies are not good policies because they do not encourage growth. They do not also, encourage poverty alleviation. They are wrong policies. We are in a mess. We are in a mess today because we followed wrong policies, the neoliberal policies. They're not good policies. Even the IMF have come up with a report and they've conceded that these policies do not, are not good policies. So we need to come up with a mixed policy. We believe.
Presence of God's Ministries Overseer Christopher Kunda has observed the need to use this year's National Day of Prayer to reflect on the extent of moral decay in Zambia. Apostle Kunda is concerned that moral uprightness has declined in the country. In an interview with QTV News, Apostle Kunda has referred to the continued circulation of nudity of women on social media as one indication of how immorality is rife in the country. Apostle Kunda believes that it is a wickedness for anyone to film the nakedness of a woman and later circulate such materials on social media for other people to watch. He states that people in the country should therefore rise to the occasion on the day of a national prayer on the 18th of October this year and pray for the restoration of morality in Zambia. Apostle Kunda states that for the fact that Zambia is declared a Christian country, it must uphold Christian values at all times. He says upholding of Christian values should not be by lips, but in action.
Christianity we are seeing today, it's by lips, it's not by deeds. So we find that we have the biggest problem. But I want to encourage you, let's just bring Christian value in our homes. Parents, you have a responsibility to teach your children the ways of God. If we are seeing today what is happening in social media, where maybe somebody can expose the nakedness of women, which is not supposed to be like that. And this is, we cannot even say that immoral decay, that's wickedness. You know, wickedness, it's where you do something without reasoning. You are just wicked, where you can just start posting things that you are not supposed to. Because the body of a woman needs to be respected, and also our private parts on our body needs to be respected. It's not just something that somebody can be just exposed like that. And I want to say that this is the time also, families, churches, church leaders, this is the time we need to stand to take the gospel in every house. Everyone who have a responsibility, who have the call of God. This is the time we need to reach out that we restore dignity, we restore the presence of God in the houses of people, where people, the fear of God can be in their hearts.
The Civil Aviation Authority, CAA, has announced the plans to commence the certification process of the Harry Mwanga Nkombla International Airport in Livingston. CAA Director General Gabriel Lesa says that this follows the successful completion of the certification process of the Kenneth Kaunda International Airport. Mr. Lesa has disclosed to QTV News that the process of certifying the Harry Mwanga Nkombla International Airport will commence next year. He notes that in certifying this airport, the CAA will be looking at the critical maneuvering areas such as the runways, the taxiways, and the airport aprons. Mr. Lesa says that the authority will also inspect the airport's electrical system and other aspects of aircraft handlings and maintenance of the airdromes. He says that this means that all the features at the Harry Mwanga Nkombla International Airport will have to conform to international standards.
In certifying the airport, we will look at the critical maneuvering area, areas like the runway, the taxiways, the aprons. We will look at the electrical system. We will look at all the actual systems around the airport, such as aircraft handling, such as the maintenance of the aerodrome, the safety management systems, the security program and their compliance. We'll look at critical areas like maintenance and programs like bird and wildlife hazard management and other systems. Yeah. The aerodrome markings, the aerodrome lighting, signage, all those must conform to international standards.
Commuters' Rights Association of Zambia CRA's President Aaron Kamuti has noted the need for political will in restoring sanity in the running of bus stations in Lusaka and around the country. Mr. Kamuti tells Q News that government should take a proactive stance to remove cadres in bus stations and leave the running of the bus stations solely to local authorities. He says it is sad that cadres are still being seen interfering in the running of bus stations despite government appointing board to handle the running of the bus stations. He has charged that commuters and transporters are equally harassed by the cadres who think they have the power to run the operations of the bus stations. Mr. Kamuti is therefore hopeful that there will be serious political will shown and measures will be put in place to deter cadres from interfering with the operations of bus stations.
Proactive stance to remove some people in these bus stations, especially cadres. That's the biggest challenge which we have. Passengers are being abused. The owners of these buses are being abused. So who belongs in these bus stations? We believe the transporters and ourselves. These are only people who are supposed to be there. But now if we talk through media, I think nothing is changing. So what we want to see, let's have a political will to see sanity in these bus stations and markets.
We take you to Northern Province, where Permanent Secretary Elias Kamanga says he is closely working with government in the area of upgrading and constructing roads as a way of opening accessibility to investment in the area. Mr. Kamanga tells Q News that Northern Province has a lot of investment potential, but this is being hindered by poor infrastructure like roads. He says he is working closely with government to work on the Kaputa, Nsama and Borokoso roads, among others. He is optimistic that once the upgrading and construction of the roads is completed, the area will see increase in investment, both foreign and local.
Because one of the challenges that we've had, yes, we have a lot of, natural resources that we are endowed with in terms that could promote investment. But one of the challenges that we've had is that there hasn't been adequate infrastructure to support investment in those potential investment areas. For instance, it could be in agriculture, it could be in tourism, it could be in conferencing, in hotel, it could be in energy, generation. We have had serious inadequacy in terms of infrastructure, especially in terms of roads. We have a huge challenge. Accessing some of these facilities has not been easy. The road network has quite bad. So that's one of the major projects we are doing, is opening accessibility to these investment areas. We are working on, for instance, roads to Kaputa, in Sama, and Polokoso. We are working on the road linking Kasama to the Great North Road. This is the Chambeshi to Mpika Road, which we will obviously make it easier for motorists traveling to the province from Lusaka, and because one of the...
That's it in our news.